All homes have issues. All homes, even new construction homes, have issues. An average home has 40 to 50 issues on an inspection. More is concerning. Less is amazing. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about buying and selling homes, click subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about the latest tips for buying and selling. Hi, my name is Kitty Cheney, owner of Chandelier Property Group with eXp Realty, where we provide brilliant solutions. One way we do this is by helping you understand the process of buying and selling a home, the potential challenges, and the common roller coaster of emotions along the way. Challenges and stresses are reduced and often eliminated when one knows what to expect in advance. We call this sharing the light of knowledge. We've worked with so many people just like you, looking for help to buy or sell a home, and we love to serve. Whether moving in 9 days or 90 days, if you want to feel heard, informed, and comfortable, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. All of our info is in the description below, so we can help you make a smooth move. With step 5 of selling your home, we're ready for the home inspection. The first piece to this I want you to understand is the due diligence deadline. I'd mentioned earlier that there are deadlines that we need to honor. And the first of these is that due diligence deadline. This is the deadline that the buyer sets in which they have to do their due diligence in determining if this is the home that is right for them, the home that they actually want to purchase. Their earnest money is fully protected during this time, which means if they cancel at all during this due diligence deadline, they get all their earnest money back and we put the home back on the market. It is typically 10 to 14 days after acceptance. Somewhere in there is very common. The buyer can cancel for any reason during this time, anything that is important to them. That's the criteria, whatever is important to them. It can be the paint color. They've decided they don't like the paint color. I know they can repaint, but maybe they don't want to. If that's important to them, they can cancel. They can discover that their enemy from elementary school lives down the street and they can cancel. It can have nothing to do with your home. It is anything that is important to them. They get to do their due diligence in determining if this home is the right one for them, if they're going to be happy here. And their earnest money is protected during that time. If they do cancel, they get their earnest money back if they cancel prior to that deadline. However, after that deadline, the earnest money is still refundable to them, but for limited reasons. So they have this time to ensure and do all their checks and all their check out anything that is important to them. One of those very, very common things that most buyers do is an inspection. And so the day of the inspection, I want you to treat it like a second showing. Have that home looking absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, because this is in most cases the second time that the buyers are seeing it, and they still can decide whether they like it or not with very, very, very little consequence to them, just a consequence of time. And so we want to treat it like a second showing so that they can fall even more deeply in love with this home. Make it just look clean and glowing, ready to go. The inspector will arrive early to test the home. So on that inspection request, you'll be given a time frame. Maybe it's 9 to noon. And in that 9 to noon time frame, they will show up at the 9 a.m. time. Not the buyers, but the inspector will show up at that 9 a.m. time. And they arrive early to test. They will be testing all of the major systems in the home. Things like all the electrical. They'll test every single outlet, every single light switch, every single light fixture. All the electrical, all of the plumbing. They'll check every tub drain, every sink drain, every shower head, all the plumbing, every toilet. They'll make sure that everything works. All the HVAC, the HVAC, they'll be checking to make sure that the furnace works and the AC. Now, if we're in the middle of winter, they won't be testing the AC. They don't want to break the AC. They just need to test it. So they will give a disclosure to the buyers that they haven't tested that if it is in the middle of winter. But at any other time of the year, they will be testing both the furnace and the AC. They'll be walking on the roof unless it's covered with snow. They'll be checking out the attic. They'll be inspecting the foundation, a crawl space if there's a crawl space. They'll be testing all the windows and doors to make sure that they open smoothly. They'll be checking all of the appliances to make sure that they work, especially any included appliances. And any other features of the home, they'll just be going around the home checking to make sure that the condition of the home, any issues with that condition are addressed and noted. And they'll be taking photos of all those condition issues and giving a full color report to the buyers. It is important that the inspector has access to areas. So while I told you earlier that you're feel free to create a stack of boxes, try to keep them away from the walls, so that the inspector has a chance to get around to all edges in the home. Especially in a basement, they need to be able to get to that foundation to take a look at it. And so you want to make sure that the boxes are stacked just a little bit away from the walls, so that that inspector does have access to all areas of the home, if at all possible. As a seller, you can be there while the inspector is there. There's no problem with that. You're welcome to be there or to leave. Does not matter either way. The inspector will have access through the key box. They do have key box access. And by scheduling that appointment for the inspection, they will have that extra special code that allows them to use the key box for that appointment. And so you can be there or not, entirely up to you. The buyer will arrive later. So again, if we have that 9 to noon time frame, the buyer will arrive somewhere around 11:30 and do their walkthrough. The inspector will walk them through the home and show them any issues that they found, any issues with the condition of the property, and give them that full color report. They typically lasts about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Sometimes they will stay after that noon time period. Again, if that time period is from 9 to noon. Sometimes they'll stay a little bit later and after the inspector leaves, just to do a further walkthrough. The buyer's agent is almost always there with them. If not, then the inspector will walk up afterwards. But if the buyer's agent is there, then sometimes the buyers want to stay and get some measurements for furnishings and double check a few things before they leave. So you can plan on it may last half an hour to an hour, even longer than the planned inspection time. And during this time, when the buyer arrives, this is when you do want to be gone. Again, just like for showings, it can feel uncomfortable to walk through someone's home when they're there. Same thing for the inspection. While the inspector is used to it, the buyers are not. And so you do want to exit the home for that time period that they're there. That's typically that last hour of the inspection time. That's a time for you as a seller to leave the home and allow the buyer's room to fall in even more deeply in love with it than they already were. And the buyer may order extra tests during this inspection. So in addition to checking out all of the major systems of the home, they may order tests such as a mold or meth test. If they do order a mold or meth test, the inspector will test different areas of the home. It's usually a little cotton swab, just to test for things in a variety of spaces around the home. And they will send those samples off to the lab, and results take 2 to 3 days later, sometimes longer, but usually about 2 to 3 days later to get those results back. And then radon is another test that they may choose to do. Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that comes up from the ground. There's no way to tell whether your property has it or not other than doing a test. There's no signs of, land formations this way or that way. It's just luck of the draw as to which homes tend to have more and which homes tend to have less. But for a radon test, they place a testing device in the basement, and they will pick it up 2 to 3 days later. You want to keep all windows closed and don't touch that device, because radon, that colorless, odorless gas, gathers in basements of properties. That's why they put it there. And opening windows will allow it to escape easier and thus affect the results. So you do need to keep your doors and windows closed as much as possible during that radon test. And then, like I said, they'll pick up the test kit 2 to 3 days later, and we'll have numbers immediately for the buyers. And then it is up to the buyers, depending on those results, whether or not they want to negotiate for any repairs on that. All homes have issues. All homes, even new construction homes, have issues. An average home has 40 to 50 issues on an inspection. More is concerning. Less is amazing. The cleanest home I have ever been through, the inspector was raving about it. Had 20 issues. he was amazed at how few issues it had. So you need to know 40 to 50 is very common, very normal. That's just a normal home. So don't expect that any little issues he finds he's being overly picky about things. No, that's normal. His job is to be picky about things, to point out every little thing he can find so that the buyers walk into the home when they purchase it with full confidence that they know about the issues that are present in that home, and they're confident as to whether or not they can take on those issues. And so the buyer is, however, typically looking for the big, expensive, or safety issues. They're not typically looking for the outlet that doesn't work. They are typically looking for the furnace that doesn't work, or the water heater that is about to die, or something like that. The hole in the roof, or the shingles that are missing. They're looking for things like that, the big, expensive, or safety issues. And the buyer pays for the inspection, so the buyer will receive that full color report, and we will only see portions of it if they are negotiating for repairs. They may negotiate for some needed repairs and or financial concessions in lieu of those repairs. So, for example, if there's some repair that is not required by FHA or VA to be completed prior to closing, then they may negotiate for a price reduction on the home and do those repairs themselves after closing, so as not to complicate the transaction. And that can be a great solution. You do not have to do everything that the inspector finds. By no means do you have to do it all. It is a negotiation point. The contract states they're buying the home. Until we do an addendum where you agree to do some repairs, it's not in the contract. You don't have to do it. But keep in mind that in the contract is that the buyer can cancel and get their earnest money back if we don't agree to do whatever points are important to them. We've got to come to some happy medium in there, whether we do some, all, or none. And that is all a negotiation point. It entirely depends on the market. And as a story for you, in a strong buyer's market, I had a transaction where we negotiated for a whole list of repairs. I was representing the buyers, and we had about 20 repairs. We did get some non-functioning outlets repaired as a part of that. But then we switched to a seller's market, and I've had transactions where there are no repairs. There's a list of issues, but the buyer is asking for nothing because they know there's a lineup of 20 other buyers right behind them, and they were lucky to get this home, and they just want to move forward on it and count themselves lucky. So that entirely depends on the market as to how many repairs buyers are likely to be asking for. Feelings of excitement and uncertainty are very normal during this time because we're uncertain. Will the buyer be asking for repairs? Will they not? Will they agree to our counter about it? Will they, or do we have to pay for a lot in order to keep our buyer? If we're in a buyer's market, we may be uncertain about that. So excitement and uncertainty is normal during this time. Once we are done with the due diligence time period, the buyer has chosen to move forward, then it is time for step 6, the appraisal. I'll see you on the next video. If you appreciated the knowledge shared in this video, click follow and subscribe for more videos on buying and selling homes. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and want to feel heard, informed, and comfortable along the way, comment below, or even better, call me. I look forward to being the brilliant solution you can't wait to share.